This is how to set up a Luminous managed cloud switch on the LumiCloud platform. The first thing that you're going to want to do is navigate to the LumiCloud user login page. Make sure that a dealer account has set up a user account for you and that you have already logged in and initialized your account. On the LumiCloud user login page, put in your email address under user account and your password in the password field. Then click on Login. Once you're logged into the LumiCloud platform, click on the device type option at the top left, then select Network. Then on the left, click on Network. To add a managed cloud switch, click on Add a Device. Then type in the serial number of the device under Device Serial Number. Then under Device Groups, select the group you're going to add it to. Then under the device name field, enter a name for the switch. Then under time zone, select the time zone that the switch is located in. Then click on OK. Then click on Confirm. The device will be added to your account. If the dealer account that is managing your user account has not applied a license to the managed switch, it will show a red dot on the left here. Once the switch has been added to your account, reach out to the dealer to have them apply a license to it. Once the license has been applied to your switch by your dealer, and the switch is connected to a network that can reach the internet, you will see a green dot next to your switch in the list here. That means it has been successfully connected to LumiCloud. To check the status of the license applied to the switch, click on the Cloud Manage button here. You will see when the license became active and when it expires. When you're done, click on the X button at the top right. To see information and see the general settings for the whole switch, click on the Settings button. Here you will see the device firmware version, the device model number, if a firmware update is available. If you click on Update Now and it says the firmware is the latest version, then there's no need to update. You also have the option to restart the switch here by clicking the Restart button. Lastly, you can turn on alarm notifications for any of these three scenarios by enabling the slider. The first scenario is for a loopback. To enable that alarm, click on the slider here. The second scenario is for network connection. This is if the switch loses connection to the network. And the last one is for port congestion. Enable this to be alerted when there is any congestion on any of the ports. If you enable notifications for port congestion alarms, you'll have another option here for the threshold. Type in a number from 0 to 100 for the amount of congestion before the alarm is triggered. The last option on the settings page here is if you want to remove the device from this cloud user account. Click on Remove Device to do that. Otherwise, click out to save the settings. It will say Set Successful at the top. To adjust settings for the individual ports and manage the switch, click on the Homepage button to the right of the switch in the list. You will be brought to the management page for the switch. On this page, you can see information about the switch and the devices connected to it. This first section here provides information on the status of the individual ports on the switch. You will see blue for devices that are connected and have a smooth connection. You will see orange for devices that are connected but have an error. And you will see red for devices that are connected but have congestion. If there's no device connected to an individual port, it will just be black. And if a device is using PoE, you will see a green circle with a lightning bolt in it. If there are any ports that are being blocked, you will see a black circle with a white dash through it. If there is a loopback occurring, you will see a circle with 3 dots on it. And lastly, if there's a port that is closed, you'll see a black circle with a white X through it. If you click on this button, it will refresh the information for the status of each port. On the right here, you can see the status of the amount of power that is being used by all of the PoE devices. If you click over here, you can get more information about the switch. You will see the switch's name up here on the top right. If you want, you can edit it by clicking the pencil icon. You can also see the amount of time that the switch has been online. You will see the device model here and the device serial number here, the firmware version, as well as the IP address of the switch and the MAC address. When you're done, click on the X at the top right. In this section down here, you can see information about the individual ports. You can see the upload and download speed here, as well as the bandwidth utilization here, and whether it is smooth or not. You can also see what the speed and duplex information is right here. Currently it's set to auto. You can scroll down to see the rest of the first 4 ports. If you need to see more ports, you can click on the buttons here to go to the next pages. To adjust the settings for an individual port, click the settings button to the right of that port. On this section here, you can give the individual port a name by typing it in this field. If you disable the slider under port on/off, it will no longer transmit any data, but will continue to provide PoE power. You can click the restart button here if you want to disable and then re-enable the data transmission for this individual port. If you disable the slider here for port on/off config, it will disable PoE power but will not disable data transmission. If you enable the slider here for long distance PoE, it will allow you to have a longer run up to 250 meters, but it will lower the speed to only 10 megabits per second. If you enable PoE Watchdog here, it will check to see when there are issues with PoE on this port, and then it will restart the PoE power on that port until it is acting normally. If you click on the dropdown here under speed/duplex config, you can adjust the speed and duplex state for this individual port. By default, it's set to auto. You can adjust the speed from anywhere from 10 m to 1000 m, and you can set the duplex to either full or half. If it is set to full, the data will go in both directions simultaneously. If it is set to half, the data will only go in one direction at a time. I'm going to leave it on auto. If you enable flow control here, if this port gets congested, it will disable other ports temporarily until the congestion has been reduced on this port. If you enable energy efficient Ethernet config, it will disable some of the circuits that are not being used on the device to save energy. When you're done, click the X at the top right. Next, if you go to Dashboard on the left here, you can see the status of all of the switches on this account, as well as health monitoring information for any errors that occur on the devices that you have on this account. If you click on Alarm Message here on the left, you can see all the alarm messages for the switches that you have on this account. You can even filter by device, alarm type, ports, and the date. You can also manage the subscription here for what happens when an alarm is triggered. You can enable or disable loopback alarms, network connection alarms, port congestion alarms, and whether you get an email notification for those alarms, as well as the duration in seconds for how long you want alarms to be suppressed in between each alarm. When you're done, click the X at the top right. And that's how to use the managed cloud switches on the LumiCloud platform.